Okay, so I'm finally able to get out with the Shimano Bantam combo, and looks like perfect timing because apparently it's the Bassmaster Classic this weekend, and I believe Shimano introduced this reel already. Not sure if it's going to go on sale, but I think they definitely introduced it. So as you can see, this thing looks pretty sick, and I just want to reiterate and show you guys how small this is. Mounted on the Bantam rod, just look how tiny this is. So the first thing I'm going to do, actually I'm going to try to accomplish two things today. First thing is to see how it handles light lures. And I think the lightest I'm going to go is a 1/4 ounce square bill, and then do some long casting with some kind of a lure. And the second thing I'm going to do is see how it compares with this reel in cranking power. Of course, that's the Shimano Curado K. So first things first, we're going to try to toss some lightweight square bills. Okay, so what I'm going to do is see if I can set the spool tension to minimize the side-to-side play. Now this has a weird kind of silent tune, and I can't seem to get it to move side to side, even with the spool tension cap almost coming off. So let me see if I can adjust something in here, or maybe that's how it's supposed to be. Okay, I'm going to leave all the brake blocks on for the purpose of this test. Okay, so now I can get some wobble. Now I can feel some wobble. So I'm going to tighten this up. Okay, so there, I just minimized just eliminated the side-to-side play. I'm going to leave all the brakes on inside, and I'm going to start out with the external dial on maximum, or 6. Okay, hopefully you guys can see what that landed. It's winding in this square bill. Feels like there's nothing on here. So I'd say that went about 25 yards. Now this reel is super comfortable to palm. As you guys can see, the side is flat. It's pretty flat. And of course it's smaller on this side than this side. Okay, casting is quiet. Okay, the retrieve is smooth, but it's not silky smooth. It doesn't have that buttery smooth quality that the CHRONARCH MGL or Curado K has. It's got a very mechanical smoothness to it, and I'm thinking that's because of the all aluminum frame. So it handles this 1/4 ounce square bill no problem. and just burning it in is no problem. Okay, so let's turn the brakes down to 4. All right, let's see what happens. Whoa, almost hit that dock. Okay, the distance went up a little bit, probably about 5 foot. Ooh, almost got away from me there. Okay, I'm going to turn the brakes down a little bit more. Now the great thing about this design is it looks a little busy, right? Like it would protrude and you would feel this side plate, but you can't. It's really flush to the body. So when you're palming it, you can't really feel it, and it's super comfortable. And because of this gap up here, I think they designed it that way. You can just basically take your thumb and adjust your brakes just like this. And the dial is getting looser the more you turn it. So I'm going to go to 3. Whoa, that went a long way. I'd say that went about almost 30 yards. Okay, this thing can cast a 1/4 ounce square bill a long way. And I haven't even turned all the brakes down yet. Okay, let's see if we can go down a little bit more. See if we can go down to 2. Oh, shit. Man, that thing casted so far, it went on the other side of that dock. I think I'm going to lose my square bill. Let's see. No, I got it, thank God. Okay, so this is launching this square bill at least 30 yards. We are getting to the edge of spool control, as you can see. Let me let you guys see one more cast. Yeah, that wind is taking it. Okay, so I'm gonna go down half a step. So it's on 1.5. In case you didn't see, they have this little notch right here to let you know what setting you're on. Okay, that went a good distance, but the spool got away, so I think 2 is probably going to be the best setting. So burning in this crankbait, it's definitely a different sensation than with the Curado K from what I can remember. I was about to hit those rocks over there. Okay, so I'm going to turn these brakes back to 2. Okay, so the MGL spool plus these brakes definitely let you bomb out light baits like this. That's to be expected. I don't think there was any question as to how good this was going to cast. And this is with 4 brakes on. So I may or may not be able to get more distance by messing with internal brakes, but that's a different story, and that's another video I'm gonna do on Shimano's new SVS brakes and their characteristics. Okay, so I think we've got a good sense of the casting ability of this little tank, and it definitely casts great despite having the level line so close to the spool. And the next thing we're going to do is, I think what everyone's been wanting to see is test its cranking and winding power. Let me show you how I'm going to do that. Okay, so of course I brought out the Curado K. What I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the Bantam to the exact same rod as the Curado K. Okay, so I got the Bantam on the identical rod, Shimano Convergence 6/8 medium heavy as the Curado. And once again, the gear ratio on this Curado is a 7.4 and the Bantam is a 7.1. Now, unfortunately, as you guys know, I don't have a boat, so there's no way for me to chuck deep divers and check the power that way. So instead, I'm going to throw a couple of lures, one that has medium resistance, this little chatterbait here, and I'm going to alternate from one reel to the other and see if I can see a difference. Okay, so this is not going to be a casting comparison between the two. It's going to be a power, torque, and smoothness comparison. So let's try it out. Holy shit. If I didn't stop that chatterbait, it was going to hit that dock. This thing can cast, and I wasn't even trying. Okay, so burning in this chatterbait is child's play. I can feel the blade thumping, but there's hardly any resistance. Okay, so this thing, I believe, can outcast that PISCIFUN Phantom with its big spool and lighter spool. And it's just so smooth. The casting is smooth and quiet. And running this chatterbait with this higher gear ratio, the cranking is super solid. Oh crap, it got away from me. Man, I'm not even trying. That thing is going about 40 yards. And winding this in feels almost as effortless as winding in that 1/4 ounce little square bill. Whew, man, this thing can cast. Hope you guys can see where this lure hits the water. Shit. I casted it over the damn roof of that. There's no way I'm getting that back. Well, let's see. I got it. That's hilarious. This thing went over and hit the roof of this dock. Almost got stuck. Okay, I'm gonna go this way now. No more of that. Okay, so casting wise, Shimano's got a winner, most definitely. Power wise, at least with this lure, it's pretty effortless. So let's switch this up to the Curado. Okay, the mighty Curado K. I'm gonna turn these brakes all the way up. I'm not sure what they're set on inside. Dang, I forgot how good this thing can cast too. Okay. Winding this in is effortless as well, but there is a difference. Small difference. I'm trying to pinpoint what it is though. Okay, I think I got it. The Curado, the retrieve is butter smooth, while the Bantam is just a little bit more rigid. You can kind of feel the vibrations a little bit more with the Bantam. As far as cranking power, you know what? I think I'm going to give it just slightly to the Bantam. I mean, it's easy cranking in with both of these reels, cranking in this little chatterbait, but it just seemed a little bit more solid with the Bantam, and that's saying something because this Curado is as solid as they come when it comes to retrieve. And it seems like it takes just a little bit more effort with the Curado. Just a little bit more effort cranking in this chatterbait. Keep in mind that the gear ratio is just a little bit higher, but this has a longer handle and much bigger knobs, more comfortable knobs too. So if anyone is getting a Bantam and they get one of the lower gear ratios, you may want to swap out the handle to a bigger one and maybe even go with bigger knobs. Okay, last cast. Okay, so definitely a small edge goes to the Bantam. A little bit less effort to crank this in and burn it in. And the retrieve was a little bit more rigid. That's the best way I can put it. Okay, so we're putting away this chatterbait. We're getting to the big test. So I went to Walmart the other night and I found the biggest double-bladed spinnerbait that they had right here. I think this is about at least a ½ ounce to 3/4 of an ounce. And this should be the real test. I remember throwing similar spinnerbait on an Abu Garcia that I had in the past, and it was a much lower ratio, and man, it made my forearms burn. The retrieve was so weak. Okay. It's not really gonna bomb this out. It's gonna lob it out there, let it sink, and just... Okay, yeah, I can feel that resistance. It's still smooth, but the spinnerbait is definitely shaking this rod. Let it sink down. Okay, trying to burn that spinnerbait in. It definitely took some effort, but it was still smooth. Still butter smooth. Butter and silk. Okay, I'm gonna do a couple more casts, one with a slow retrieve, and then one I'm gonna try to burn it in. Okay, I'm gonna just point the rod straight to it and do a slow retrieve. I don't know if you guys can see, but it's definitely shaking this rod. It's trying to pull it out of my hand. Okay, 7.4 gear ratio. Okay, now we're gonna try to burn it in. Okay. Whew. It's definitely not the easiest thing, but it's definitely doable with this gear ratio. I definitely would not want to do that all day long. Okay, let's try to burn it in. This is all cranking power of the reel. Okay, you know what? My cranking arm is fine, but my left arm that holds the rod is the one getting the workout. I don't know how that is. Okay, now it's the Bantam's turn with this big double willow spinnerbait. Okay. You know what? This is... I'm gonna have to try that one more time. Make sure it wasn't a fluke. Gonna turn these brakes up too. Now the retrieve is easier, takes less effort, and that's with a medium retrieve. So let's try with a slow retrieve. I'm really liking this Bantam. You don't really notice the weight. Everybody is saying how it's so heavy. It's really not. I mean, it's all aluminum pretty much. Okay, I think the spinnerbait is fouled because that's way too easy. Okay, there. Okay, let's try it again. Okay, I'm gonna point the rod straight to it and wind it in. Yeah, there's definitely more power in this Bantam's retrieve. No doubt about it. It's very slight. It's not night and day, but you can tell when you go from one to the other. So I'm going to try to burn it in now. Once again, this has a shorter by I think 6 millimeters the handle, and the knobs are smaller. Okay, so burning it in. Okay, I think one of the blades were fouled, so let's try that again. Yep, blade's fouled again. Okay, here we go. Man, this thing is trying to yank this rod out of my hand. Oh, it was fouled. Let me see if I can get one more clean retrieve. Now there's a difference in the retrieve smoothness between these two. I'm trying to do multiple casts so I can pinpoint in words what it is. Can't keep this spinnerbait low enough in the water column. Let me point my rod to the water. Okay, just like the Curado, the arm that's getting wore out is my left arm, the one that's holding the rod, but not my right arm, the one that cranks. So I think I have a good idea of the differences between these two reels. Okay, so we are done with the cranking, power, and torque comparison between these two reels. And we're going to go home and discuss it when I get back. Hopefully on the drive I can accurately come up with some words that'll accurately describe the differences between the two, because there are. So I'll see you guys at home. Okay, so I just got back from the on-the-water testing of the Shimano Bantam MGL. And let's go over what happened. First thing I want to do is, there was a question in the comments about the worm gear, and the worm gear is metal. I don't know if you can see that. Don't know why that matters, but it is metal. So let's first talk about the casting ability. Now, this thing really impressed me with its casting ability, unlike the ANTARES DC. And of course the Concept Z. Now this thing casted that 1/4 ounce square bill probably at least 30-35 yards, and that was with minimal effort. The place that I was casting was a steep bank, so I couldn't really reach back and just heave one out there. And also the fact that I did not mess with the internal brakes at all, so it was all 4 on, and all I did was mess with the external dial for adjustment. So I didn't even reach the limits of its casting ability for this video. So there's a lot more casting ability in this reel. I can definitely feel it. Now, as far as the ergonomics, this thing is probably the most comfortable reel to palm and fish, other than my super tiny ALDEBARAN 50 and Curado 70 reels. The side plate, as you can see, on the palm side is smaller than the handle side, and it's kind of flat. And despite this side cover being really busy with this big hole and these ridges, you couldn't feel it. When you were fishing, you wouldn't even know that this was here. So that's an awesome design by Shimano. They really got that right. And as far as the weight, now I know this weighed in at 7.8 ounces, which is, I would consider it pretty average in these this day and age. But the best compliment I can give about the weight is I didn't even think about it at all. I didn't think like, oh my god, this reel is heavy, I'm getting tired. So despite being 7.8 ounces, you don't really notice it. So yeah, casting and ergonomics, the Bantam is definitely a winner in that respect. Okay, so the next thing we're going to go over is the smoothness. Now in the unboxing and tabletop review, I really didn't go over the smoothness of this reel very much, and let's do that now. Now if you were in the store and you had both of these reels in your hand, and you had the drag loosened all the way, you would think that the Bantam is not as smooth as the Curado, because turning the handle side by side, the Curado, in my opinion, is smoother. And let me explain what I mean. Now the smoothness is different. The Bantam is exceptionally smooth, but it's got a more mechanical, rigid smoothness to it. That's the best way I can explain it. While the Curado has a silky, buttery smoothness to it. And returning the handle, it's quieter as well. And I think a lot of that is attributed to these super soft big knobs that the Curado has, while the Bantam, the knobs are not as soft and they're definitely not as big. And also, I'm not sure what the main gear of the Bantam is made of. It might be aluminum, while I know that the Curado has a brass main gear. So the best way to sum it up is that the Bantam feels closer to this than the Curado does. It's the Calcutta Conquest with its higher level micro gears. Now strangely enough, when I fished this today as well and did some little bit of cranking with it, this is the smoothest reel that I have. It feels like it has no gears in it, but it's got that rigidity, mechanical rigidity to it that is evident in the Bantam as well. So they're both smooth, just different kinds of smoothness. And in my opinion, the Curado is actually smoother. It shields you from more sensation and vibration. Okay, so let's get to the power and cranking ability of these reels. Now, I bought the 7-to-1 gear ratio Bantam to specifically go up against my 7-to-4 ratio Curado. Now, with both of the lures, the chatterbait and the big double willow spinnerbait, both of them retain their smoothness characteristics. Silky, buttery smooth for the Curado, while the glassy, rigid, mechanical smoothness for the Bantam. But in both cases, the Bantam had a slight edge in power, meaning it was slightly easier to retrieve and burn both of those lures in. So I don't know if it's because of the slightly lower gear ratio, or if it's because the handle is a little shorter, or if it's because the frame is so solid. But yeah, it's not going to be a night and day difference between the two in power. And in the future, for you guys who are going to get this reel, you may want to swap out the handle and knobs. In fact, you may want to get a handle and knob assembly from a Curado and put it on there. Now, it's worth noting that the knob tolerance on this reel, there's a little bit of in and out play in both of these knobs. Apparently there's only one bearing in each knob, but you can add an extra bearing in both. So yeah, there we go. Cranking power, slight edge goes to the Bantam, but it's definitely not night and day. Both of them have immense power. Now, of course, I definitely would not want to burn these big old spinner baits all day with this gear ratio, but if you choose to get a lower one, then I don't see that being a problem. Okay, so what is the verdict on this Bantam? Having spent such little time with it, I can't speak to the longevity, but I don't see why this thing wouldn't last you years and years and years, especially if you maintain it. Now, is it worth 350 bucks? Of course, that's up to you. Now, this thing casts extremely well. In fact, I'm waiting for one more MGL reel to come in from Japan, and then we're gonna have a big old MGL showdown, and we're going to see how it casts in relation to the other MGL reels. Now, as far as smoothness and power, I mean, this thing is refined, it's solid, it palms great. Once again, this is probably one of my top 5 palming reels that I have, and I have a lot of reels. And yeah, I mean, right now the yen is getting stronger, so you're not really saving that much money by ordering it from Japan. So I would probably just wait until it comes out here in the States and pay the full retail so you can get that Shimano warranty. So yeah, the Bantam so far is a winner, and I'm glad I got this, and I look forward to seeing how it does in the standardized tests. Alright guys, thanks a lot.